Hi, and welcome to Real Talk with Sesta. My name is Andrew Sesta, and today I'm going to discuss with you 4 key indicators to help you answer that question everybody's been asking themselves: is the end of the housing boom upon us? Don't go away. Back to Real Talk with Sesta. So as promised, I'm going to share with you 4 key indicators that may help you answer that question: is the end of the housing boom upon us? So let's just get right into it. First indicator we're going to talk about is inventory. So let's take a look at this chart and go over the inventory historically over the last few years. The housing market listing inventory has been between 5 and 6 million homes on the market. So let's talk about something very interesting. In March of 2020, if you look at the chart right there, you will see that the inventory started to take a sharp decline. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, that's probably due to the pandemic and people weren't buying or selling houses at that time. But if you notice, it continues to decrease from March 2020 all the way down to April of 2021, where we could see that the inventory bottomed out at 4.6 million. So that's pretty significant. So we're talking about a little bit over a year's time, the inventory declined sharply down to about 4.6 million homes on the market as of April 2021. So you're probably asking, why is that? Well, we could speculate that there's maybe many different reasons, one of which could be the affordability. The prices have gone up considerably over the last 14 to 16 months, so a lot of people are priced out of the market. That could be true, but we're going to dive into a couple of more of these indicators, and when you kind of put everything together, the big picture is going to start to make sense. The next indicator we're going to talk about is delinquency rate. If you take a look at this chart right here, it's going to show you the percentage of mortgages that are currently in the 90-day plus status of being delinquent. Generally speaking, by looking at this chart, we're looking at between 3 and 6% is the general average of loans that are delinquent in that 90 plus status. So hold on to that for a minute until we go to the next chart. So as we all know, when the pandemic hit, the government got involved and put a moratorium on all foreclosures and evictions, and that lasted well over a year. So a lot of these lenders gave forbearances to many of the people that were behind in their mortgage. Well, right now, between April and around October, November of this year, most of those forbearances are expiring. And it doesn't seem like the government is going to step back in and extend it. Probably asking yourself, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that all those people that haven't been paying their mortgages and that have been on a forbearance, those are starting to expire. So they have a couple different choices. Those that can afford it will go back to making their monthly payments. Of course, there may be a certain percentage of them that maybe legitimately lost their job, haven't been able to get back on their feet, and they're not able to make their mortgage payment. Well, the good news for those people is that most of them have equity in their homes. Unlike in the 2008, 2009 when the bubble burst, most of these people have a good amount of equity built up in their home because during this time, the prices have really skyrocketed all over the United States. So a percentage of these people are going to be able to sell their home, possibly downsize, buy something that's more affordable, and put some money in their pocket. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. And of course, there's going to be that percentage that is not able to make a payment. Maybe they owe too much on their house, they can't sell it, and they'll end up going into foreclosure, unfortunately. But for those people that are waiting for that influx of foreclosures to come, I don't, and many of the experts don't think that's going to happen. This market is considerably different than it was in the 2007, 8, and 9. The difference being that back then, a lot of people got mortgages for homes that they couldn't afford. They bought the homes on stated income, adjustable rate mortgages. After a year, they adjusted to a point where they weren't affordable. Then all of a sudden, supply and demand, there were so many houses on the market, the prices plummeted, and that's what we experienced. You could go back and look at history and see that happen. But that's nothing like what's going on today. I don't know when the last time you bought a home or refinanced, which a lot of people did in the last year or so, but if you did, you would have noticed that the banks are very, very tough on their rules as far as going through bank statements and paycheck stubs, no matter what kind of credit score you have, 750, 800, 825. I've seen them comb through people's financials and ask for explanation on so many things that they didn't do back in 2005 and 6. So the good news is that, number one, hopefully many of these people on forbearances are just going to pick up and start paying their payment again. Number two, those that may not be able to afford it may be able to sell and downsize and put some money in their pocket. And then unfortunately, there's going to be that percentage that is going to go into foreclosure. So let's look at this next chart. So this is what we're looking at as far as the 90-day plus status of people that are behind. Right now, it's estimated that the backlog of homes in that forbearance 90-day plus delinquency is about 1.5 million homes. So again, the question is, how many of those homes are going to go into foreclosure? How many people are going to sell their homes, put them on the market? Both of which will create an influx of inventory. Does that make sense? So let's talk about our next indicator, and that is pending sales. If you look at this chart, if you notice, the pending sales have started to plateau and even having a little bit of a decline. So what does that mean? That means that the amount of homes that are going under contract are starting to slow down. I've even heard recently that the amount of people that are filing for mortgages has slowed down considerably over the last 90 days. So the pending sales is a definite indicator on what's going on in the market. So we're going to get into my marketplace now because that's the ones that I have actual stats for in our MLS, and I could speak on from experience. So this chart shows the pending sales from Port St. Lucie. And if you look at this chart, you'll start to see a definite decline in the amount of pending sales. So you're probably saying, well, that could be due to people that are priced out of the market. They can't buy homes because they're too expensive. People can't find homes to purchase, so they've kind of put it on hold. And some of that is true, and especially in our area, I could see that. But as you see here, that's a pretty significant decline. If you take a little closer look, it's going to show that around March of 2021, in the Port St. Lucie area, we were about 123% over 2020. And of course, that would make sense because 2020 is when the pandemic hit. We had to shut down. But still, that's significantly higher in pending sales. But again, it's doing the total opposite of what it was doing this time last year, and it's starting to trend downwards. What we're seeing here in Port St. Lucie is the closed sales, the homes that are sold, also have started to decline. So we have a decline in pending sales, and we have a decline in closed sales. So if you take inventory starting to rise, you take the forbearance expirations starting to take effect, you take the pending sales that are showing a decline, and you take the closed sales are starting to decline, it's definitely one of those warning signs that say, hey, stop and take a really good look at what's going on here. So these indicators are indicating that something's about ready to adjust or is adjusting. Again, a lot of people ask, are we at the top of the market? You'll never know if you're at the top of the market until it passes because we go by history. So we could look back and see that, houses peaked or houses dropped. But while they're rising or while they're dropping, you don't know where the top or the bottom is until after. I can tell you one thing, here in Port St. Lucie, again, each market is different, but here in Port St. Lucie, if we're not already at the top, we're very close. So let's talk about the last indicator I want to go over, and that's interest rates. So if you look at this chart, you can see that the interest rates have declined pretty steadily from 2018 And it shows that we've bottomed out at this point, January 7th, 2021, at 2.65%. So if you refinance or you bought a house during that time, congratulations, because you hit the bottom of that interest rate. Many experts don't think you'll ever get there again. And you can see by the chart that it's starting to trend up ever since that point. So again, to make my point about the high and low, January 7th, we didn't know that was the lowest. We all knew that it was very low, but now looking at this chart, you can see, wow, that's when it definitely bottomed out. So let's take a look at what the experts are saying about the interest rate. So here's a chart of the mortgage rate projections from Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, NAR, MBA. And if you take a look at all of them, they all show that they definitely feel that the mortgage rates are going to continue to rise. So if you look at the last column, average of all four, in the third quarter of 2021, it's projected that the interest rates will be 3.35. Again, that's still really low, but compared to that 2.65, it's definitely higher, but it's not as high as it was back in the 80s when I bought my first house at 10.5%, and some people paid even as much as 17%. So getting back to this chart, the projections show that the third quarter will be around 3.35. They predict an increase in the fourth quarter 2021, and then again, an increase in the first quarter of 2022, an increase in the second quarter of 2022, up to about 3.68. Again, that's not very high, but still higher than it was January when it bottomed out. Does that make sense? So as the interest rate goes higher, so is the amount of interest you're paying or your payments that you're paying back on your mortgage. So this may further price people out of the market, that affordability factor we talked about. So what does that mean? That means that houses may be on the market longer, inventory starts to rise, and we talked about the law of supply and demand, that if the supply starts outweighing the demand, prices are going to start leveling out and possibly declining. Now, we don't have a crystal ball, but if you take these four indicators, you could pretty much figure out that the housing market is definitely going to change. When is it going to change? How drastic it's going to change? Nobody knows at this point. I would say in the next 4 to 6 months, we're going to see how the market is going to react to those forbearances, how many people are going to go actually into foreclosure. Is the inventory actually going to go up? Or is the demand still going to be very strong and still outweigh the supply? If that's the case, then prices may continue to go up or stay steady. And again, I'm not making any predictions. I'm just bringing you the facts, and you make the decision based on what you see and what you hear, and most of all, what you feel in your gut. So I hope you really enjoyed this video and you take this information in and you make an educated guess whether it's your time to buy or whether it's the time to sell. Please share this video with someone that you feel could benefit from it, and also please subscribe to my channel so that you can get notified on upcoming videos. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.